How's it going, Martians? Jade back with another Martian Report. In today's Martian Report, we're going to be talking about two misunderstandings within the cryptocurrency ecosystem, or cryptocurrency community, that lead to a great deal of FUD. Mainly uncertainty in the FUD equation, but a great deal of FUD within the perspective, the future price perspective of XRP. And so those two misunderstandings I'm going to address today are, first being that just because a group is working with Ripple does not mean that they're going to use XRP. The second being that because an organization is not working with Ripple, that means they won't use XRP. So, obviously, for the second one, you can absolutely make an argument that just because because somebody's not working with Ripple, that they're not going to use XRP, to a point. And I'm gonna start with this one, right? So the idea is that sure, there might be organizations like JP Morgan who are not going to touch XRP because, hey, guess what? They're making their own ecosystem. I acknowledge that. I acknowledge that JPM coin's a thing. But at the same time, I also acknowledge that JPM coin is a fiat stable coin. It's a USD stable coin. And therefore, it has a fluctuating supply. No fixed supply means no assurance of liquidity preservation within that currency, because its value can be debased due to poor monetary decisions, really, right? So the idea is that while JP Morgan probably not going to use XRP in the near future, Swift probably going to use XRP in the future. Why? Well, Swift didn't develop their own cryptocurrency, their own asset for their decentralized global payment settlement system. Instead, Swift partnered with R3. R3 adopted XRP. And let's be clear what that means to adopt XRP, right? Swift didn't make R3 didn't write the code for XRP. No, most of the developers who wrote the initial code for XRP work at Ripple Labs. David Schwartz. We had Ryan Fugger, who's no longer with the group, Jeb McCaleb, who's no longer with Ripple, but they all started with Ripple, right? Or most started at Ripple and have worked with Ripple. They aren't working at R3. They didn't work at R3. R3 is just a group that said, hey, this XRP ecosystem, this blockchain space, moreover, this blockchain space has a lot of potential for exactly what Ripple is trying to do within this market, and that is provide liquidity for remittances. Well, they also decide at R3 that XRP is the most efficient digital asset, digital currency, blockchain technology for providing that liquidity. That's why they adopted it. That's what that means, that they adopted it. That means they think that's currently the best option. That's why all their original proprietary technologies are developed upon the XRP ledger. They didn't build their system to integrate Bitcoin initially, so it's not optimized for Bitcoin. It's optimized for XRP right now, the Corda settler, that is. And so when somebody says that Swift's not going to use XRP because Corda is going to facilitate the use of any digital assets, like, well, do you really understand what that means? Because XRP, the ledger, has a built-in decentralized exchange where all those other currencies can be plug and played into the XRP ledger. Thus, their value, those currencies that are being used instead, their value will impact the value of the XRP ledger because they're plugged into the XRP ledger, which is what facilitates their movement between each other. Are you beginning to understand what's going on yet? Hopefully, right? I'm sure most of you do since you're paying attention 5 minutes into a video. So let's go on to the other side of this. That just because Ripple is working with an organization, that does not mean that that organization is going to utilize XRP. Again, this is a false belief system within the XRP community, even within the XRP community. And this stems from the fact that, yes, XRP is not synonymous with Ripple. Ripple is not synonymous with XRP. However, Ripple, as a company, is developing technologies specifically to increase the utility of XRP. That is their primary objective, to bring utility, to bring the ability to utilize XRP into existence. And so all of their technologies are developed with that objective in mind. Therefore, anybody who works with Ripple is enabling and helping Ripple continue their prime objective of advancing the adoption and utilization of XRP. It's just that simple. So if somebody's working with Ripple, they're working to help XRP become globally adopted. You don't need to make it more complicated than it is, because if you understand if you understand the basics of power, of how power is shared at the top, if you understand the basics of how power transitions from different hands, basically the 48 Laws of Power and The Art of War, go read those 2 books or listen to the audiobooks if nothing else, and you'll have a pretty good idea of what I'm getting at here, as far as it's actually pretty simple to understand the big plays that are occurring in a meaningful way to the future, just by understanding how business and political global geopolitics actually operates on an effective scale, in an efficient way, in any kind of efficiency, right? Now, that's not to say that governments are efficient, because obviously we observe inefficiencies in all of our governments, no matter what type of form of government you have. There are inefficiencies and inequalities and so on and so forth in all of them, right? But it is to say that there are certain efficiencies within how we operate as collective societies that can be observed, and that those efficiencies are what have enabled us as individuals to cooperate with one another and to build the civilization which we see before us today. All right? So when you understand these things, and on even a basic level, it becomes very easy to observe what we're witnessing unfold with Ripple Labs, with the global financial system as a whole right now, and how this ecosystem is developing and where it's developing towards. All right? So again, this is not me saying that there's no way for XRP to fail or for Ripple to fail or whatever, right? Ripple can absolutely fail, and XRP can still be successful, even with Ripple failing. Because if R3 is successful, and R3 could be so successful that it drives Ripple out of business. R3 and Swift, they might be the partnership, the dream team that kills Ripple, but they're going to be utilizing XRP because XRP is just the most efficient. And now that everybody's developed the systems and is actively developing their systems to integrate into the XRP ecosystem, into the XRP ledger, there's no reason to even worry about the other digital assets, because the biggest players, the most important, prolific monetarily players, the people with the most power right now, have already decided on this new currency that they're going to use. It's going to be XRP. And there will be no need for a system that is providing minute benefits. A whole new. There's no reason to change from XRP, say, to XLM or TRX simply because it may end up being a little bit faster a decade from now or 5 years from now. It's not faster right now. It's not more efficient right now. Therefore, there's no reason for them to even bother changing. And because they've already invested so much resources today in the present to developing towards the adoption of XRP, there is an incentive against switching over to, say, TRX or any other that's going to require them to spend even more than they already have to adapt their new code and programs to make it optimally efficient for that new currency, just because that currency happens to be 5% more efficient than XRP. It took a currency being arguably 20 times, at least 20 times more efficient than the traditional system for them to even adopt it. So you think that a 0.05x efficiency increase is going to promote them to suddenly change again when they're already spending a lot of money to integrate this new system, the RippleNet system? Are you kidding? You don't understand business if you think that. If you're still worried about that, even, right? Because it's not good business. It's not sound. There's no value behind that belief system. Therefore, if there's no denominable value, there's no reason for a business to do such. Therefore, they won't do such. Okay? So the idea is this. XRP's already won. And that's why I sit around and am making videos with these silly dollar values at them, because clickbait, right? Admittedly. It's clickbait because a lot of people are only interested in a price tag, and I know that. And so, my videos where I'm just going on tangents like these, they're going to have that little price tag in it, and then the actual topic of the video, in the actual little bit afterwards. But, I get clickbait's a thing, and that's how you get people to click. So, hopefully you all understand why I'm doing that, to bring in the less educated population into my videos and explain to them the actual fundamentals of the ecosystem they're investing in. It might seem devious, but I'm doing such with the intention of helping educate our community, so that maybe some more people who are just getting in, who think that price has anything to do with the health of a market, hopefully they can gain a better insight into what they're actually participating in. So to all of you who are new, if you enjoyed my insights, my perspective on the XRP ecosystem, and you haven't already, please hit that subscribe, and also be sure to ring that bell so you can stay up to date with all of my newest current content. And if you haven't already, be sure on your way out to hit that like. As always, I can't wait to see all of you in my next video on Mars.